for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk.
You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about how legends are made. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And joining us for this final quest is my arch nemesis and all-around BioWare awareness counselor, Kenneth, Shepard.
Hello. Thank you for having me back after half a decade almost.
God, when you say it that way, it makes me want to literally turn to dust. Fuck.
I don't like
We were
it.
so youthful at one point, remember?
We were
Speak
young
for
and
yourself.
excited.
Everyone thinks that I'm 25 all the time.
Mm.
And I tell them
lucky.
it's the microplastics in American food.
I had a recent moment where I was going to a work event and I pulled out my license to like get in and they were like, I don't believe you. This looks fake. And I was like, what do you mean? Because like I look very much younger in the photo. So I was like, what do you mean? Like I had hair and everything. And I was like, no, but you still look like you're like 22 maybe. And I was like,
Wow, all right.
okay.
See, it's all the plastics in American food.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
it is
mhm.
That's why
totally
we
is.
look young and unbothered.
Yes, it's true. We used to have guests all the time on the show, but then one of us decided to move into another fucking country. So, there's that. Just saying. But Ken has decided. So this is the funny thing about Ken is like whenever we do a new season, I say, Ken, what do you want to do? And Ken from moment one went, I want to bitch about the main story of this game. And I went, got you. We'll do the last mission and you can talk about everything. So before we get into all that, though, in case the listeners who are new, maybe haven't gone back, aren't familiar with you, or maybe you changed several jobs since the last time you were on this podcast, we'll let them get to know you. So to start, just talk to folks a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. I am Kenneth Shepard. I am by day, I'm a writer at Kotaku. Been there for about 3.5 years now. There I write about the video game industry, but also entertainment at large and fandom and weird things I see on the internet. But then by night, I do a show not too dissimilar from this one called Normandy FM. We are currently going to Dragon Age the Veilguard, so we are a few games ahead. But we did start with
In
Mass
our
Effect,
defense,
and then
we're a little bit more granular than you are.
Yeah, we kind of we take a mission at a time, which is ludicrous. But
here's
that's
the
how
thing:
we roll.
it's like I to give you guys a peek behind the curtain. I've had conversations with Eric Van Allen, my co-host, very often. Like, well, we see like where y'all are at, and I was like, damn, they move at a fucking glacial pace. This is crazy. But I was like, and they have like twice as many episodes every season. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, live your truth, I guess. That's fine. I don't think I could have stand to be stuck in Dragon Age Origins as long as y'all were. But I live
Listen.
that
fair.
life.
That's fair.
Do I need to fly back to New York just to have words with you personally?
Well, you know,
I mean,
okay. Also, another thing, since I was last year, I live in New York City now because
Yes.
I work at Kotaku, and yeah.
I didn't mean to out where you live. That was more of a, that's
Oh.
where I go when I come back to America.
Oh no, I yap about that all the time. It's like half my personality now that I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah, we get it.
A transplant that's been here for like an 11th of his life. But yeah, as far as the internet is concerned, those are the things that I do. Yeah, it's yeah. As I was saying, like Normandy FM was a Mass Effect show, did all of Dragon Age until the Veilguard came out, and then so now we're at the Veilguard as our current season, roughly 8 years into the show.
Yeah, and you guys took a break to do like Final Fantasy X and X-2.
Mm-hmm.
You did Last of Us Part 1 and 2, Cyberpunk,
Near
Nier as well.
Yeah, we've been around.
I understand that there is Dragon Age beef, perhaps deserved. However, without going into a full-on rant that will take 40 minutes, can you give us a sense of your Dragon Age style? Like, what were some meaningful choices for you on Dragon Age Origins?
Dragon Age Origins, I definitely. So here's the thing, and not go like a 40-minute rant. I generally view like BioWare games as sort of like these time capsules of myself over the course of when I played them. So like with Origins, that came out just as I was the last couple of years of high school for me, and so I was a very edgy teen that was very angry and all this stuff. And so like I played like a blood mage that only like romance Zevran because it was the only one there that I could, and kind of I don't know, like I think played faster and looser with a world that I maybe at the time didn't care about as much. Which I mean, that even out comes with an asterisk because I have so many complicated feelings about Dragon Age. But back then, the choices in that game that really stick out to me are like ones like obviously the Morgan one at the end, where because I was I'm such a stickler for my roleplay, and I was like, because if anyone that's ever paid attention to me on the internet, like I don't have sex with Lynn, so I got Alistair to have the baby instead. You know, it's kind of like, here you go, allyship points. You get to deal with that curse forever, but then we both get to live. And so like that, even as a person that like, you know, there's all these sort of scruples you might have, like, oh, this seems like it might be blood magic. It's like, I'm a blood mage, I don't care, but I also don't want to reproduce. So here you go. So it's.
I like how your concern was maybe it's blood magic and not I'm going to force my friend to have sex with someone he doesn't like.
Yeah, take one for the team.
He can grin and bear it in a way that I couldn't.
That's true.
But yeah, because like that's the thing is like I do appreciate that Dragon Age, in spite of all my issues with it, like has like a lot of like really well-rounded, complicated choices, which I do kind of feel like Veilguard is like probably neck and neck with Inquisition's my favorite in the series, but I do feel like it kind of gets away from that a lot. Where a lot of it's, you know, there's certainly like depth to the things that you do, but there are a lot of like binary choices, like do this or that, as opposed to these multifaceted sort of things that you can almost like, you know, D&D-esque scenarios that you yourself put in. So yeah, I think for Origin specifically, that's like the most significant thing that sticks out in my head.
And so you mentioned a moment ago, but to kind of drill in a little bit, like which of the Dragon Age games means the most to you? It sounds like the Veilguard is the one, but you kind of waffle between that and Inquisition.
It's both Inquisition, obviously with a 10-year gap between, they both like represent very specific points in my life that, again, like it's something that you kind of see in the change from like my Inquisitor to my Rook in terms of how they just kind of operate and view the world. I think Inquisition is probably, I think some of Bioware's best writing and best role-playing, like from like a narrative design standpoint. But I do think Veilguard kind of gets that, you know, in my 30s now, like where I kind of, the kind of game I need at this moment in my life, which is, it's very optimistic. It's very, like to the point where some people criticize it for kind of sanding down that universe, which is, you know, it's a fair criticism, I think. But, you know, it's got these things like, it's kind of what where Bioware got to really be like catch up to the identity that I think it has and the reputation that it has as like the role playing studio of like, okay, you can be non-binary here. You can be like, you can in the dialogue be like, I am trans, and you can really create your character to look and be however you perceive yourself to be. And I think that's something frankly something that kind of started through Bioware not doing that. In Mass Effect, it's kind of become like something that's so like sacred to me in RPGs, is that like feeling like the game gives you all the space to be whoever you want to be. So I think Veilguard being a little bit more kind of like fast and loose with who Rook is, as opposed to like the Inquisitor, which the Inquisitor has like a lot of variations as well. Not to keep rambling, I'm sorry, but like
you're good.
The Inquisitor has like he has like a lot of variations as well, and I think it's really interesting how that game plays in like a character becoming like a focal point of a faith they might not believe in. I think that's actually like a really fascinating role-playing problem to solve, and sort of like a collaborative story that you're writing alongside Bioware. And so, yeah, I think they both really mean a lot to me in different ways.
I appreciate that. I want to veer us back to Dragon Age 2, because that is what we're going to be talking about today. Is there a squad that you always roll with, or a specific person that you always have to have with you?
So one of my go-to rules in any WoW game is that my love interest is with me. So for Dragon Age 2, that is Fenris. And then I have Anders, because like you need a healer, and he's like the only one that's like,
the only
really
one, yeah,
good at that. And I think I had Varric through most of the as my rogue.
Squad as fuck.
Yeah.
Those were my boys.
It's a real sausage fest. Yeah.
Yeah. Unsurprising sausage fest for you. I do like just to comment on the characters you create, because the internet who follows you know that you make yourself in every game you play, which is always a short, bald, attractive man with a beard. And I just love the idea that in the Dragon Age world, because they're not all the same character. Like Shepard, it's Shepard straight through. But then in the Dragon Age world, there's all these short little bald men.
Well, so
who
that's
are really
the thing.
hot.
That's the thing is they actually weren't, because when I played Dragon Age 2 in Inquisition, like, I wasn't bald yet.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
That's the thing is like Rook is like the most like, oh, that looks just like me,
just like you,
as opposed to like my Inquisitor had like, you know, the sort of like shaggy emo hair.
Yeah.
Hawk was like more, I think, idealized in my head, like, you know, it had like the swoosh back black hair with a beard, and so they're all pretty different, I think, and that's again like kind of goes back to what I was saying is like when I view these
But they
things
all
like
look
time
vaguely
capsules,
related.
Yeah, exactly.
they're in the same family tree probably, but like that's the thing, it's like all those characters are actually very different to each other, because I feel like I have just changed over the course of 15 years because this game's taken forever to come out.
Yeah.
Almost like
I
it's the
think
purpose of our podcast.
I mean, basically, yeah. I think that's what's fun, though, also, is following your career. Your more modern characters are more similar, like maybe Cyberpunk and Veilguard and like that, which is, or when you go back, like when you played the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect, also similar, right? And so I think that's fun to see, just as someone who's followed your work all these times, like, oh, that's a Ken character and that's a Ken character.
That's the thing is that I had like there's like some weird people that get like really upset about the fact that I make characters, because like on Kotaku, like, oh, they'll be like on the front. I was like, y'all need bigger problems.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like,
but I just think like, not again, like we're talking about like my shit here. Like this is stuff like really matters to me most in video games. Because I grew up on like the Mass Effect forums where there was so many like debates about like, is Shepard actually can Shepard be gay because they can't enter a relationship? And it was like, oh, this is like y'all. There's like a subset of people that play video games that think like, okay, I made these decisions, and so everybody probably did, right? These are the canon, these are right. And so for me, like making characters in these games that are specifically me is kind of me like putting my stamp on this thing. Like, no, this is my story. You don't get to determine who Rook is, who V is, who Hawk is, who your guy in Baldur's Gate is, whatever it might be. So yeah, it's just like I'm unneurotic about it at this point, and it's probably a
I mean, well, I do love the way you do that, because like for me, like I've talked about on this show, my first run throughs of Mass Effect and even Dragon Age, I made characters that I wanted to embody. I didn't make myself, and so then revisiting them and like falling for Caden in my trilogy playthrough as playing as myself said stuff to me that like I just ignored my first time through. Although I think romancing Liara as a femshep, now being non-binary, says some stuff, but neither here nor there. And so I love that about it, which is why I brought it up. I think the whole ethos of this podcast is like, what if we were in these games? And you tend to really embody that in the RPGs you play that let you make a small, gay, bearded man who's bald. Before we jump into this episode and the final mission proper, what are some of the most meaningful choices you made in Dragon Age 2, either in your canon playthrough back in the day or your more recent playthroughs for the podcast?
So as we'll talk about in the show, I actually think some of the choices in this game are fucking bullshit, and we'll get into that shortly. But I think
that's valid.
One of the in these like books that I write for these characters that are, time capsules of me, one of my like big like plot point, like sort of like side plots of it is actually in my romance, where because I don't know, I see we all talked about how like in the Fenris romance he leaves you for like a period of time.
Yeah.
So what I've always done is in the middle of that, I go pursue Anders, and I'm just like, all right, I'm hoeing it up here in Kirkwall, and then just before you do the deed, Anders says like something shitty about Fenris, and then that you can either continue the romance or you can break it off. And so like that's what I do, because I'm like I love this love triangle drama that also plays into a choice that we're going to make in this episode in terms of like why I do the thing I do as opposed to things that people that don't like Anders tend to do instead. So I think like kind of really working in those relationships, and especially with like the friendship and rivalry system, kind of letting you color those in a little bit differently. I think that's always been the choices that have been really impactful for me across Dragon Age 2, is that like Veilguard, for example, is like your dynamic is a friend group of just like people that don't really fight about anything that's meaningful. And where 2, I think, is like the most prickly that you can possibly get, because you can have people that kind of fucking hate your guts but still stick around out of some sense of loyalty. And so I always have really admired about Dragon Age 2 that there's all those colors and nuance to the relationships you have. And I definitely feel like I have very specific images in my head of every party member based on how they interacted with my like chaotic, humor, sarcastic Hawk, and all the little pieces of drama that I kind of made with these fucking like it's like playing house basically. You're like, okay, here is me manufacturing drama because it's for the plot.
I very much agree with you. I think Dragon Age 2 does ensemble cast really well. Like, they're all very nuanced people. I do think that they suffer in Act 3 because of development issues that we've discussed previously in the show. And I would have loved more story for them because I think that they deserved it. But unfortunately, we didn't get more story. And, well, if I could turn back time.
Yeah, I agree also. I think that, like, I mean, and I know you've talked about this too, Ken. I think BioWare, the best thing they've always done is character writing. Story writing depends on game to game, but for sure, character writing, creating characters, even games where I like the games less, I love the characters anyway. And I think this is one of the biggest showcases of that because it is one of the more maligned games as much as I do love it. And yet people still go back to a lot of these characters and talk about how impactful they were. And so I think both can be true in this sense. And so also just the idea that you're making a love triangle between these two handsome men just makes me laugh really hard. I just think it's very funny.
You know my answer to every love triangle.
I know. Why aren't they just poly? Yeah, we need
Just
more
be
polyamory. We need more polyamory in BioWare games.
I
I
deserve
can't imagine
two
Anders Anderson today.
boyfriends.
Yeah, that's true. With Fenris and Anders, I agree with Ken. I don't know that would happen.
I think that it could happen and it would be very hot.
I mean, it would be hot. That's true. There's no denying that.
I think there would be a lot of competing for dominance, but not understanding that neither of them are the dominant one.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And just being like, interesting. Shall I get into the summary, my friends?
Yes, please. Let's do it.
All right, finally, the tensions in Kirkwall have come to a head. The champion is called to step in, but it's too late. Meredith and Orsino stand on the steps of the chantry, one determined to call on Althena for fairness and compromise, the other refusing to see how out of hand her hatred has gotten. There is no more compromise as the chantry erupts in beams of violent red light, destroying the building and killing anyone inside. It's time to choose, the Templars or the mages. Who does Hawk support? In the end, does it really matter?
Now, obviously, this game takes a total left field turn almost, it feels like, in these final moments. I think they wanted to have a decision of impact. They wanted, Anders has always been the key to this whole story, but like even now playing it, the sudden destruction of the chantry just feels not completely out of left field for his character, but just like, well, we need an ending. Here's an ending. Giant beam of death ray, which I don't know that we actually ever get an explanation for how that happened, what Anders did to make it happen. Do they go into that detail at all?
We do know. If you did Anders' loyalty quest,
right,
he tells you that he's trying to figure out a way to separate vengeance from himself or justice from himself.
Right.
And he needs you to distract Grand Cleric Althena.
Right.
He's planting a bomb in the chantry.
Oh, so there's basically just a bomb, a spell.
Yeah, he
or
lied
something.
to you.
Yeah. That's what I had figured, but like even the mechanics of how it works isn't made very clear. It's just like Anders did something and now the chantry blew up.
He planted
It's
a
magic.
magic bomb.
Yeah, it's magic. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, because the things that he needed saltpeter and...
It was like spell components, right?
Yes, but they are also actual components to make a bomb.
Got it. Okay. Got it.
So
I guess I gave him too much credit for it being more complicated than just something that explodes.
it was like, this is my backup plan.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is also actually the plan.
Plan A and Plan B.
Yeah, plan A and plan B together, exactly. I do like, though, the effects of this. Like, the one thing I'll say about going back to Dragon Age 2 is that, at least on the PC version, is that the graphics have aged pretty well. It does have a little more cartoony aesthetic, as we've talked about, as far as the character designs, which kind of lends to it. But the particle effects in this explosion were like, oh, this is an Xbox 360 ass game if I've ever seen one, which is fine. We didn't write it in here, Ken, but I'm going to make a large assumption that as a bludge mage growing up, that you sided with the mages here in this decision that you have to make.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a mage in every Dragon Age game, and I think something that's kind of interesting about that is it just kind of informs my worldview of Thetis, is that, like,
Yeah.
I've always kind of come in with a specific perspective and had it to the very end. But I also think that Dragon Age 2 gives you absolutely no reason to side with the Templars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Unless
I'm
you're
sorry,
a
I have a
villain.
lot of feelings.
Unless you are, like, just someone who likes authoritarian
Oh my god,
regimes.
it's the Morin thing all over again.
It is.
Oh.
It is, yeah.
Okay, hang on. Before we proceed, Ken, I have to tell you something. I cited you in my Morinth paper. I wrote a whole 10-page article. Well, not article. I wrote a whole 10-page academic paper and did a presentation about how they did Morinth dirty in Mass Effect 2 and how it was basically like a lesbian pulp fiction story where no lesbian is allowed to be happy. So I cited one of your articles talking about the absence of queerness in Mass Effect 2.
Hell yeah.
So I was like, ugh, I have to cite Ken.
Oh no.
My arch nemesis. The person who is so like me that it makes me angry. But yes, it just makes me so angry. They don't give you a reason to side with the Templars. Like, they never give you a reason to side with Morin. They're just like,
Right.
but she's so sexy. I'm like, but you don't give her nuance. You just gave me a serial killer.
And it's, the problem is, like, all of Dragon Age 2's Act 3, like, they try, because, like, obviously they make you do the quest with Meredith, the quest with Orsino, and it's like, okay, we're going to show you, like, these very exaggerated, cartoonishly evil blood mages that, like, are, okay, so like, see, this can be bad. And I was like, you're speaking to these people's character, not, like, the inherent lack of trustworthiness
like,
of a mage.
this is a specific person.
Yeah, and it's, like, obviously, like, y'all will get to Inquisition, so I won't, like, ruminate too much on how it handles the stuff as well. It's just like Dragon Age has this problem for me where, like, it doesn't, until frankly, like, Belgard, like, it doesn't want to stand for something because it wants to empower the player to feel whatever they want to feel and do whatever they want to do. And this one, I think, is like where that's sort of like, frankly, like, I don't want to call it like ethical failing because, like, that just feels like it's putting more on the writers than I'm meaning towards you. But as like as a series, as a text, Dragon Age, like, wants to make one of its foundational conflicts a story of oppression, and it gets in because it will let you decide one way or the other. It has to, like, try and lend credence to something that doesn't really have any, and it definitely feels like it comes to a head here because it's like, why would you ever, like, okay, Meredith is like, okay, I want to kill all the mages in Kirkwall because this one guy did this thing, and I'm just like, where's the nuance? Like, where would anybody? Because, like, to be clear, Dragon Age 2 has done a lot to, like, put bad mages in your line of fire. Like, you know, you come back to things like Leandra and how everything that happened to her was from a blood mage. So, like, it's like they're trying very hard to add nuance to something that ultimately doesn't have, like, the nuance that they think it does.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that when you're telling a story of oppression, you cannot set the oppressors in a light of empathy in this way, because then you're canceling out that oppression in a way. Like, you can't stay neutral in a story of oppression. And I think that there needs to be serious consequences for if you want to have this story where you can side with the oppressors. I think there need to be serious consequences for doing it. Like, it can't just be, and then you win the game. I think there needs to be some serious casualties to show. So you win, but at what cost?
Right. It's definitely the more, like, going forward in the series, like, okay, with Inquisition, there are characters like Vivienne, who I think try to add nuance to the conversation that Dragon Age 2 kind of needed if it was going to ever go down this route. But then you end up you're looking forward into that game, and it's like it kind of just feels like at that point BioWare just starts to treat mages and Templars like factions as opposed to there's this sort of like social status and relationship that they have that is again like built on oppression. It's built upon a religious hierarchy and all this other shit. And this is like one of my least favorite parts of Dragon Age 2, but also like most fascinating to talk about because I think it's like a very strange example of like a storyline I don't think would fly now. I don't think, and I frankly think that's why Veilguard is not dabbling in a lot of that stuff, both as like a way of. I like to think that the BioWare tries to like that make that game like more direct in its like political leanings and like the stories that it's trying to tell, but I also frankly think that it's trying not to get canceled and it's trying not to be like doing something that might come off as untoward or tone deaf in the way I think this does. Because like even now, like we're talking about like the premise of the decision itself. Dragon Age 2 is about to do a lot more bullshit with this that continues to like really nail down onto like, oh, this is like a really nuanced and like both sides are good and bad. And I'm like, no, what the fuck are you talking about?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Speaking of, can we talk about how much I hate Sebastian?
Oh my god, yeah. So it's funny, like I had been talking about through this playthrough, Ken, that like I didn't know a lot about Sebastian. I'd played Dragon Age 2 once before and remembered having him along, being a sucker for a nice accent, but beyond that being like, and then finding out he wasn't queer, so it didn't matter anyway. But like wanting to give him the benefit of the doubt. I have friends who are religious and who kind of keep to their own lane and are kind people, even though they observe stuff. And so I was trying to be open-minded. But then as we get to Act 3, they kind of throw any nuance that this character could have had out the window. And then his entire reaction in this section where after Anders does what he does, he basically just says he's going to hunt down and murder Anders no matter what you do. Because I assume we all decided also to not kill Anders and make him help us fix what he did. And so like with that,
I am
like
team, please don't kill my husband.
yeah, well, yes, for you specifically.
Well, and for me, it, like again, like, kind of in like the whole role playing, like I was like, this is my ex who I hurt, and like this is kind of me, like making good. Like okay, like our score is settled. Come help me fix your mess. But obviously, like there are a lot of people that have various feelings, like oh, Anders is a terrorist, so okay. But something else, I assume that neither of you went this route of like doing the rivalry with him and getting to this point. Because like here's like I think like the entire premise of picking between Templars and Mages is one thing. My like big like in terms of like my my feelings about Dragon Age 2 as a like it doesn't have like the moral standing to make the claims it's trying to make, is that like if you are in a rivalry relationship with Anders, you can get him to turn against the Mages and side with the Templars. And
what?
that
Yes.
That's crazy.
feels illegal.
Yeah, and so like that's the thing is like you have this character who is like this fixed entity in this story that has like exists to portray a specific point of view, but then like you give the player this like all powerful way of just like completely turning him around in a way that like one doesn't really make sense. Like why is Meredith like okay, well yeah, we're gonna take the guy that just blew up the Chantry, yeah, he's on our side now, we're fine. Yeah. But also just like because like the entire premise of the rivalry relationships that like Justice is absolutely screwing with your mind, you're an extremist, you need to not be doing this, and then his sort of thing is like I basically blacked out and Justice did this whole thing and now I'm like here, and so like it's like I don't buy that's like the thematically appropriate way for any of that to go, and it does get into just like the longer you look at Dragon Age, it's sort of like oppressive allegory. You're just like, this is actually like really weird. Like it's fucked up, but it's also just like it's so self-involved in terms of like letting the player do whatever they want, like play with this malleable thing that it's just like, oh, you really don't keep up with like the principles of these characters, so you can have this like choice, so you can have this character moment where the player gets to feel like I changed the world because I did this, and that just never flies with me.
No, there are things that are just immutable.
Yeah. And there's inconsistencies everywhere. Like, speaking to Sebastian, I hate the character. I hate how he reacts here. But it does feel sort of in line with who he is.
Oh,
and like,
it's definitely in line with who he is.
Yeah. And like, but we also talk about Aveline a lot, a character that I like less and less every time I play this game, but who is written well. Like, you are designed to dislike her and the stances she takes and the way she acts.
Are you though?
I mean, I think so. I don't want to get too far away from Sebastian, though. But yeah, basically, if you decide to stick with Anders and have him help you, Sebastian leaves and says that he's going to do whatever it takes to bring his full might of his kingdom to kill Anders, which...
Hey, at least we got him off his ass and reclaiming his kingdom.
Right. Yeah, finally. Going and doing something. But also, other people can leave you here as the party splits if the side you pick. And so... something interesting happened, and it'll come full circle. But Fenris leaves here. We were kind of in between rivalry and flinches for me.
For you,
yeah, for me.
You.
Fenris went and joined the Templars and said that he can't side with the mages. He can't help them. But I will bring him around later, and it's kind of interesting how you do it. But for this moment, he leaves, Sebastian leaves, and then everyone else obviously still sides with me. I assume for both of you, everyone stuck around except Sebastian.
Yeah. Fenris does say, like, I think this is nuts, but hey, we're best friends, so.
Yeah.
And Aveline says, I have to do, like, what is morally right. So my place is with you.
Yeah, she said the same to me, yeah.
Which did surprise me because I didn't have full friendship or rivalry with her. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I thought you were going to leave. I'd have been fine if you did, but okay.
I think the threshold is whether you do, I think, their last questioning beliefs quest. So it doesn't need to be like all the way to the end of one side. You need to get to that point. Because I remember my brother was playing the game for the first time. He had not done that quest for Fenris, and Fenris left him. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I don't think that you... I mean, obviously, you can get full rivalry or friendship by the time that you get to the end of the game, but I think they kind of put that in place so people that didn't would still maybe have a chance.
Yeah.
And then I think that obviously this other check that Matt's going to get to, I think, is probably like a little bit further into the line.
So. Yeah, because I'm towards friendship, but it's not maxed out. I don't think I'm dead center with Fenris. Aveline, I was pretty... I think with most folks, I was towards friendship. I mean, it's funny. I'm in a relationship with Meryl this playthrough, and I am not full friendship with her. She's still kind of just before, which is interesting.
Are you? If I can get like just a quick temp check, what are y'all's like splits in terms of how your relationships are, friendship, rivalry, or with who and what?
I am more rivalry with Meryl. Pretty much friends with everyone else but Aveline.
Okay. Yeah. I'm also towards rivalry with Aveline, and Fenris is, I think, more towards friendship, but not fully maxed because I swung back around doing his later quests. Then friends with everybody else, except Sebastian. I'm also kind of was in the middle.
Yeah.
And then Meryl, I pursued a relationship with. And she is more towards friendship because of the pursuit of relationship, but not completely there based on some of the choices I made in her final stuff as well for her mission.
I did a rival mance with Meryl once. It was very strange.
I've only never done the rivalry romance with Fenris, and that shit hits.
Well, yeah, because you always play a mage. So it's always like, I hate you, but I can't stay away from you.
It's poetry. It is like prose in a fucking video game.
No, I'm into it. Before we move on to the next phase, I do want to talk about our feelings regarding Anders' actions.
Yeah, this has always been complicated for me, I think. Ken has thoughts, and we'll share them imminently. But no, I mean, so part of me likes how ingrained he is in this story. He's introduced in Awakening, and then he's so central to this plot. But I've talked about this before. I feel like those two characters aren't the same character sometimes. I also wish, like, I loved Justice so much in Awakening. I think he's a cool character. It's an awesome idea. and his integration in this game blows. Like it's not enough, and it's so cool when he gets angry and like becomes this demon or being or spirit and like gets taken over, but we never explore it. We never talk to Justice again. It's this integration that they can't be undone from each other, and I just feel like it's a means to an end in the story in a way that drives me crazy. I think that this makes sense for Anders' story, and I think that his narrative here is the best part of this plot line. I think it is trying to explore something, but I think ultimately it fails like a lot of the other stuff does because we just don't get enough here. That's kind of where I land.
Like I said in the first draft of my thesis, Anders thinks that he's the one who threw the first brick at Stonewall. I love him, but this is what he thinks. He did a complicated thing. I think that he's right, that removing Althena from the equation was necessary. I personally, living the life I've lived in the world that I live in, would not have chosen to kill her.
Yeah.
Not a choice I would have made, to be perfectly honest. We do have to, I guess, acknowledge that in the world of Dragon Age, killing people is rather casual. It's a thing that you kind of just do.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that would change if murder was just a casual part of my everyday. I don't know. Self-defense, I guess. But my main problem with the action is that he's right that the Chantry created the illusion of balance without actually keeping balance, and there is no compromise when it comes to human rights. But he is not part of a movement. He's not a political leader. He's not an activist. He is a guy who made a unilateral decision without the input of other mages.
Yeah.
And peaceful protests definitely would have resulted in dead mages because we know how Templars handle things. So something that incites violence does make sense in this world. And I understand his motivations and I agree with his motivations. If I woke up and my spouse blew up a building and it killed a prominent religious figure, I'd have concerns.
That seems fair.
And from a romance perspective, it's heartbreaking. You know, you couldn't trust me to have your back, to support you, and also maybe talk you out of killing innocent people. Like, we could have come up with something alternative that still delivered the point. Maybe we could have gotten all the Chantry people out and, like, go elsewhere where you cannot impact what's about to happen here. Just go away. Or don't get rid of the Chantry is its own problem. I would have probably attacked the gallows if it were me. Because I feel like the gallows was the bigger symbol of oppression.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I was upset that you took away my autonomy in the situation. Ken, what are your feelings?
I don't know if you mind, because I think like Anders is right in terms of like his motivation and what he kind of views to be a sort of problem that is keeping this entire thing stagnant in a way that only benefits the Templars. I think there's something interesting to me about, okay, so like this is not something you can stop. Like you can investigate to the limits the game will give you, and you still cannot stop this from happening. And I think there's something interesting to be said about Dragon Age 2, and it's something that like Varric and Cassandra will talk about like later, is that like who was like the instigator of this, because like they come to Kirkwall thinking it's Hawk. This is all our doing, where they kind of learn that, you know, Hawk was there, like witnessed these things happen, but what wasn't, the person who threw the first brick, as it were. And I kind of like that. I know that, again, that bothers people from like a power fantasy, like I'm the player character that gets to do whatever I want, and you should be able to change things. And like, I kind of like that for the game to kind of be like, no, actually, you're not the most important person in the world, because that is kind of like one of the big themes of this game, is that like, who is the actual main character of Dragon Age 2? Because I think it's kind of Anders, actually.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the reveal that Cassandra gets at the end, is like, so Hawk was kind of just there, actually. And that's interesting. That's like a really fascinating sort of like play on even like the Bioware tropes at the time of like Shepard being the most important person in the world that can do anything that can bend any galactic figure to their will. And so I think that's actually like a really interesting conflict to give to a player, is that, you know, you the dialogue wheel is not going to have every answer for you in this scenario, and so now you can just kind of react to it and deal with, you know, the fallout later. So I don't know, like I like I said, I spare Anders, and I've kind of like woven in, you know, personal reasons, and also into the ones where I'm like, dude, you didn't have to do it this way, but like I don't disagree with your point, so I'm not gonna.
I'm not thrilled,
like,
but also
yeah.
I get it, but I'm not happy.
I mean, that's basically where I land. Also, I pursued friendship with Anders in this playthrough, and like I do like him as a character, and I do agree. And also, playing, important for you to know, Ken, is I played a mage this run, because basically when we started this season, Frankie went, one of us has to be a mage, so you're going to be. I think we flipped a coin for it, and I lost.
Yes, because I did it in Origin, so you had to do it here.
Yeah, and this will matter.
Why are you talking about being a mage like this big hoopla, like hard thing that you have to do? Being a mage rules.
I don't like playing mage in Origins or 2.
Yeah, the controls are not as great. Like, I mean, it's fine.
I enjoy it in Veilguard.
So I'm on PC, so it's mouse and keyboard, which is a pain in the ass. And Frankie's on Xbox.
Xbox.
Yeah. And so, like, but I didn't mind playing once I had, like, the big targeted area of effect spells. That's all I used. But mostly also in 1 and 2, it matters more if you have a mage who's experienced to speak from, because the game's changed greatly in 1 and 2 if you're a mage. In Inquisition and Veilguard, I think it's still important, but it's more flavor like other stuff. It's more impactful to the narrative. Stuff. Yeah. But that said, playing a mage this time made me look at what Anders did differently than when I played a warrior my first time through, and just go, basically what you both said. Like, I don't agree with how you did this, but like the whole game, I've been on your side. And I think it's more frustrating for my character because I'm a mage also. I know what you're going through personally. I am also an apostate. My dad was an apostate. Like, you should have read me in. I know more. I know more about this than anyone else you've met because I am like you. Why didn't you read me in and let me help you? And then there's the throwaway line of, well, you would have tried to stop me. Of course I would have tried to stop you, you know?
Yes.
But like, you know, I think ultimately I like I agree with you, Ken, that I like that the story makes you have to live with something.
Yes.
You know, because I think BioWare games are best when they do that. When they give you, like, when something happens in the narrative, like I think of Arrival in Mass Effect 3, right? Like, there's no good choice there, and you can't stop it. It's going to happen. It's what you do and the path, and then you live with the consequences in the third game. It's the end of the second game. You live with those choices in the third game. I think BioWare does best when they make you live with those unchangeable choices. However, how we got here and the fact that they still then, after this, try and go, but it's actually still a choice. Like, you don't have to help the mages. It's like, well, this feels empty now after the fact, especially when we get to the Meredith fight, which we're not at yet, but it just becomes cartoonish by then.
I do want to just also say that I used the word immutable a couple of times. Something being just woven into the fabric of the world in this way. Like, this event is going to happen and there's nothing you can do about it. It was woven, it was written, it's done. That is very much how our lives are. And that's what makes it narratively satisfying, because we can look at that moment and we can think about similar moments in our own lives, whether it's a big political event or something smaller and personal, like the loss of someone or just anything that we know we could never have changed.
Yeah.
I just think that it's really important for stories to have that, because we need to be able to self-reflect through narrative.
Yeah. Starting this game up, a year and a half ago when we did, I did not expect it to be as politically 10 years ago, as politically close to how things are now as it would be. But like, you know, I mean, there's a reason that the sign-off is all Templars are bastards, right? Like, I think that there is a real lifeness to this game in especially these horrible moments that happen that I think are worth exploring. while still critiquing the quality of the work and the writing in moments when the choices don't feel like choices as well. Like this what Anders does doesn't feel like a choice in a good way, right? Like it's a thing that happens and you have to react to it. But then the choice they give us later about who to side with isn't a choice, because why would you side with the Templars? They've given you no reason to. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. But let's move our way through Lowtown. So we're not going to talk much about the combat here. We'll talk about the boss fights, but like,
Yeah, it's basically boring.
the combat here is the same. It's been the whole game. You know, you're killing mages and Templars through here, no matter what side you pick, which is okay, sure, fine, whatever. But we are approached by our sibling if they are alive. And so I guess to ask Ken, in your canon playthrough, what happened to your sibling since you were a mage?
Carver is a Templar in my canon.
Wow.
Like I think
That's why
the
Carver
Grey Warden,
Yeah,
sucks.
it does.
Sorry.
It does suck.
I think the Grey Warden stuff is interesting. I do like the but obviously like that's for either Bethany or Carver to be in. So I like the specificity of like Bethany going to the circle and Carver becoming a Templar, because that just says more about their specific relationship.
Yeah.
And you know, again, I'm doing it for the plot. I'm doing it for the drama. I need. Okay, I've got a mage-hating boyfriend, and I've also got a Templar brother. Like everyone just hates me so much, but they can't stay away. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I assume here you asked for help.
Well, so that is one of the annoying things about the Templar Carver thing, is that like if you're not siding with the Templars, Carver does not help you out until the very, very end. It's like you don't even get like a final like goodbye conversation with them in the same way you would if you were like in the story if Bethany was alive and you were siding with the mages. You get to have that like last little chat with her at the end. You get nothing like that for Carver, which I guess like it's fine on like a, you know, there's these two clearly do not have a good relationship sort of way, but it's just kind of like that just feels like an unforced error of just like, if he's gonna side with me later, why not let him side with me now?
Or give me an opportunity to convince him.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I hate Carver.
No.
But then again, I did not grow up with a sibling, so I don't know. Maybe it's normal for siblings to suck that much.
I mean, I will say that like I softened on Carver a bit this playthrough, because the experience you get during the DLC with Corypheus, and then also here him coming back, and like you get to see Carver soften a bit if he doesn't join the Templars. The wardens wear him down a bit and make him and help him see things a little differently, which I think is interesting. I think it's not enough to make him
so interesting, because the wardens definitely toughen up Bethany.
Yeah.
And she softens even further in the circle because she ends up taking care of the kids, I think.
Yes, I believe that's right. Yeah. And so it's interesting. Like, I don't hate Carver as much as I did at the beginning of the game, because he does eventually come back and you can tease him basically and be like, oh, are you going to tell me you love me now and all of this? And like, you have like a softer moment with him here that like, I didn't expect. I expected him to come back, continue, because at the end of, what is it? Legacy is the name of the Corypheus DC. He's still an asshole. And he basically leaves and says, you know, thanks for everything, but also fuck you, I'm going to go. And like here, I think it's the further softening of maybe he just realizing that you're the only family he has left or whatever it is that I didn't expect. And so I don't like Carver, but I think he's a more interesting character now through this lens than he would have been any other way.
By the way, we have to send this clip to my brother.
Sure. Yeah. Talking about siblings.
Ken, for reference, I have a little brother. We did not grow up together.
Oh, sure.
And we only met 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So every time I'm like, how do I sibling? But he grew up with a brother in the family that he was in. So he knows how to be a sibling. And he's like, I know how to be a little brother. I'm like, I don't know what to do with you. I don't understand. Why are you like this?
Well, how old is he?
He is 5 years younger than me.
Okay, so like a fully formed individual.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's 32. I'm 37.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, you're so old, Frankie. What happened?
Oh, I'll never be as old as you, babe.
All right, thank you and fuck you. But so tell me, like, how does this interaction go with Bethany? Is she? You said it hardens her, so is she less like caring and kind here in this moment?
No. She is still like, I'm here for you. You're my sibling. You're the only family I have left. So like, you say the word, and I'm here to throw down. But when I said that she gets hardened by the wardens, it's every interaction you have with her up until now, where she's like, you pushed me into this life that I didn't even necessarily want, and you gave me a death sentence either way. And at this point, she's like, I understand now, and I'm actually thankful because I would have died in the caves, and I didn't want to die in the caves.
Yeah, I mean I think that's where Carver comes to also is basically like grateful for the choice. The wardens play more of a part here than I would imagine. I think also in the previous playthrough I did, it was Bethany and she went to the circle, and I feel like that felt less impactful than the warden stuff. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to remember. That was several years ago now. But yeah, so both our siblings join us. Your sibling fucks off to fight with your enemy. And so, like, I'm curious about, and we can talk about it when we get to the end, but, like, I'm curious how that, like, final, like, is it basically a rivalry? Like, does Carver hate you by the end, or?
I mean, couldn't tell you, really.
Okay, yeah, it
because like,
doesn't really
you
say.
literally
There's no
do not
conversation.
get,
Right, yeah.
like, you don't even, like, you know, there is the sort of, like, oh, what are you doing? Like, still time and attention is like, no, dude,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
You get something like that, but, like, otherwise, you don't really get any sense of, like,
Closure.
where they're leaving off.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I don't know. It's a fumble in my opinion. I think this game's handling of the family dynamics is very spotty.
Yeah.
I'll say. Like for a game that is ostensibly about Hawk's family and like the gradual unraveling of like it's just like one of them dies in the first 30 seconds and then the others. I don't know. It's weird part of this game to me.
Yeah.
Agreed. The only thing that I want to complain about before we actually get to the gallows is this fight that happens on the docks with this blood mage who just comes at you with like 15 shades and a pride demon. And I'm like, girl, I am on your side. Why are you fighting me?
Yeah. The need for this game to have a mage being attacked by Templars and then given to the blood mage and like become a blood mage. Like we've seen this so many times. Why is this necessary? Like it's just
she wasn't even attacked by Templars. She was just there and was like, ha ha.
Yeah.
Now I can be the serial killer of my dreams.
And frankly, that's not even the worst example of a mage just being like, you know, oh, well, actually, I know you're siding with me, but we're going to fight now. But we'll get to that one in a second.
Yeah.
It just made me really angry. Anyway, to the gallows.
Yeah. So when we get to the gallows, on the mage path, you have this opportunity, which we all took, to like talk to Orsino and talk to your party who are there, like everyone who's going to help you. So I'm trying to remember. Oh no, it happens right before the Meredith fight because eventually. Oh no, it happens right before this. So after the docks, you see Meredith and Orsino again. You have an opportunity before you go in to the gallows to talk to other party members. And basically, when Fenris shows up with the Templars, I go, you get to basically say, so, slavery, good thing now, huh? And he goes, fuck, and then joins you, basically. It's like you basically throw slavery back in his face. Like, so you want to enslave these people, you know, like how you were enslaved. And he goes, okay, fair point, and then comes back to you. And so for the final area, when you can talk to all your party, Fenris is with me again and basically has that attitude of like, I don't know, right, wrong, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to follow you into battle. And so I did think it was interesting that you could throw that kind of back in his face of like, why are you protecting like these people who want to enslave other people when you lived that way, which I thought was an interesting nuance. And it makes me curious about if there are opportunities to pull other people to your side in other playthroughs, depending on where they land. But I don't know.
I'll never know.
I mean, that would also require siding with terrible people, and who would do that? But yeah, so
I've actually done it once.
Yes, I remember.
Even then, nobody bailed on me.
But yeah, so we go into the gallows and we start to prepare for our final fight. You get to talk to all your party members one last time. I made a note that there are check-ins here, but like they all felt pretty kind of one note, like, you know.
Yeah, it was a nice little closure moment. There was
Yeah.
a really good quote from Fenris that I wrote down, which was "Only the living know victory."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good
I
line.
just liked it.
Yeah, they're good, you know, final moments. I like the final moment with Isabella. She basically says, you know, I can't believe I ended up here with you, but I couldn't imagine not being by your side. You know, thanks you for helping her. And like the Varric conversations are always great. You know, I love how often Varric likes to talk about how he doesn't like goodbyes, and yet we find ourselves in situations where he has to say them. Like they were all nice. I don't want to say they were one note. They were all nice, like little coda moments with each character that you've built a relationship with.
I will say, Anders asked me outright, like, "Do you want to stay together?" I was like, "We're gonna have words later, but yes,
I still love you.
We're
but
gonna
you're
talk.
an asshole.
we're gonna have a conversation, not in front of the cat."
Not in front of the cat, yes. Couldn't be in front of the cat. I do, however, have to say now that this moment with Orsino sucks. It just,
oh my god,
it just sucks. I don't like. I up until this point, I mostly liked Orsino as a character. I think he's voice acted really well. He's written really well. But like this moment to turn him into an amalgam blood mage, though the boss looks cool, like why? Why? It serves no purpose. It gives you a reason to have to fight both leaders, and like it's cartoonish in the way that we'll get to Meredith as well. And it drives me crazy. Like every time I've done it, I'm just like, why? Why are we doing this fight?
Yeah, so one thing that actually we don't really see as people are deciding with the mages is that, like, because they kind of gloss over it in this, but he makes a comment about how, like, he got this magic from Quentin, the guy that killed Hawk's mother.
Yeah.
And when you're excited with the Templars, you get to actually, like, confront him about that very briefly, because he's kind of like, they crank up, like, the villainy on him in a way. Again, these things are suddenly malleable depending on if the player made it. But, like, that to me felt very much like twisting the knife, like, because, like, the only hint you get towards that is back in Act 2 when you're trying to find the manager, and you find, like, he has, like, a letter, that's like, oh, you know, thanks for your findings, send me more, or whatever. And it's like, that felt very much like you put the train tracks in front of you and then had to, like, go back and go fix, like, add something. Because it doesn't feel earned. It feels, like, it's especially odd, like, from a mechanical level, because, like, assuming that, like, that you're winning the fight, that you're beating the Templars as they're coming in, suddenly there are all these dead mages behind you, and he's like, oh man, this is so bad. You know, like, I don't know how they suddenly fell over dead because the Templars did not get through me. Which, you know, maybe that's like a whole other, like, hypothetical coding, like, armchair game designer thing. Like, maybe that change happens if you're losing the fight, but maybe it doesn't but that's neither here nor there. It's just, it's a very unearned thing. It feels like, again, like, this entire conflict and what it has to say morphs itself around not even just the choices that you make, but the choices that you might make. Because, you know, like, if you're siding with the mage, there's no reason for Orsino to be suddenly turning into this abomination and then fighting you. And then, but they made this whole boss fight, though, so, like, you gotta do it both times, right? And it's like, I don't know, y'all. Like, this is, like, such a weird, like, it just, like, is one of the most, like, bald-faced examples of, like, this game not having something to say, but kind of, like, giving you the lens to interpret it however you want. And it's like, I don't think it works.
I completely agree with you. I even wrote in my notes that this moment is not justified in any way, shape, or form.
No.
I think that if there had been some kind of cutscene of, like, something getting past us and killing someone that was established as close to Orsino, like Alan, for example. We've had enough interactions with Alan that I think that would be a good example. Like, if Orsino had to hold someone as they died, then I could maybe buy it as this put him over the edge. But we're competent fighters. We're level 26 at this point. Like, we're doing great. Absolutely no Templars got past us. As Ken said, why?
Yeah.
Because both sides are bad.
Yeah, it's because both sides are bad.
Because ultimately there is no good in the world. Everything is terrible forever.
The clear solve for this is, like, the Orsino fight is for the Templars, the Meredith fight is for the mages. That's how this should have been. But you're right, Ken, and I hadn't thought of that. This is clearly I mean, we don't know. We weren't the devs, but right? But we've speculated a bunch during the season. Like, this is clearly, we made these 2 cool fights. I don't want to have to program only one for each. We'll just put them both in. You'll just do both no matter what you do. And it just, like, if we did this fight siding with the Templars, not that anyone in their right mind would do that, it would make sense. Because, like, this is a last-ditch effort, and this is, at least for the Dragon Age story they've been telling, what all mages do. In a last-ditch effort, every mage turns to blood magic, which also is bullshit and a cop-out, but at least would make sense narratively for what this game has done.
Well, so the thing is, so obviously we're going to fight Meredith shortly, and that's for both sides as well, but I think that with her, that feels earned, because, as we're going to find out, she's been going crazy the entirety of this 10-year saga. Where with Orsino, like, that's the one it just feels like, again, they don't earn siding with the Templars as just like a basic moral concept. And then so it kind of makes sense that by extension, them turning the mage leader into an evil boss also would not feel earned. And so that's like the thing about, in terms of like equity of like boss fights and challenges, I would understand why they maybe don't want to have one route that has fewer boss fights than the other. But again, like, that's a very video game ass thing where, like, you don't actually have to undermine your world for the sake of, like, giving people more buttons to press.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what gives it replayability.
Yeah.
Sure.
But also, can I say, I fucking hate little Orsino.
Oh my god, trying to target him as a mage is a fucking pain in the ass. When you have to
Hate
click
that
with
guy.
the mouse on the stupid thing, fucking the worst. Yeah. The design of the boss is very cool. Like, it looks awful, it's interesting, but, like, the fight sucks and the motives suck. It doesn't make sense and it doesn't line up. But we do get to fight someone absolutely completely satisfying to fight, because next we fight Meredith, and like the way they amp up her cartoon villainy here almost feels more appropriate and like fit, like, because that's the character's they've been hinting. But even here, I feel like she goes from 3 to 11 because she's still speaking like saying crazy shit, but speaking pretty matter-of-factly until this. She pulls out the red lyrium sword and then absolutely loses it. I think it gives a great full circle moment for like everything that happened with the lyrium statue earlier and like with Varric and his brother. Like, I like all of that stuff, but even still, this, while it does feel more earned than Orsino, still feels like a cartoon jump as far as like, now she's absolutely batshit crazy, you have to kill her, which is what they were hinting at, but now they're just like, the veil is off and now here it is. Go fight her. She's the final boss.
I think the cartoon villainy makes sense for Meredith, because if you think about the people we consider to be villains in the real world, aren't they also like cartoon villains?
That's
if you
true.
really think about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
And it's like, how can you be so evil? And the answer is because it's possible. Because they can. And that's what happens with Meredith. Like, she was already predisposed towards paranoia and mania, and the idol made it worse. But of course, she's different and better than Bartrand, so she could never be driven mad by it.
Yeah.
My hubris.
I wrote conquered by her hubris in my notes.
Yeah, I think that, like, I like her as a final boss as far as the boss fight goes. I like that the statues come to life and all of that. It makes zero sense, but like, I think it's cool. It's a cool boss fight. But also to that end, like what you've been saying, Ken, like that, those moments where the statues come to life, this is very much well, we can, so we might as well, right? You've been looking at these statues the whole game. We might as well make you fight them.
Statues.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, it is interesting that it, like, and I'm sure y'all talk about this as well, like, Dragon Age, like, visually, all those things look very different from each other.
Yeah.
And it feels like 2 and Veilguard are the ones that have, like, the most, like, almost anime influence in terms of, like, the stylistic ways that people fight. And, like, so, like, when she's doing these, like, huge jumps across the courtyard and, glowing like she's Super Saiyan or something like that. Like, just like the absurdity of it, I kind of like bought into. Just it's like, okay, this is getting ridiculous at this point. And so I kind of also like the idea of like the statues coming together, like the city itself is fighting, or like what she believes to be the city itself is fighting you. And I think depending on which route you go and like how you kind of view Hawk, that can ring certain ways. Like as a mage that was clearly about to just skip town after this is all over. The sort of idea that like, okay, this place is like finally pushing you out. Like it is finally like you're having to make this last stand for yourself and for what you believe in, but you will leave. Like you will no longer be from Kirkwall. I think there's a lot of like interesting like visual elements to that are pretty cool. Another thing about the one of the funny things about the fight is there's a point where like she stuns the entire like field, like all your party members and such. And I don't know what it was, but like every time I've done this, I've had Aveline spec in a way where she doesn't get stunned.
Me too.
So she's still fighting.
So she's like still fighting, but she's also like you have to like if you switch to her while the fight is happening, you actually hear Meredith having this like crazed monologue where like she's starting to like doubt all the things that she's doing and like how she 10 seconds ago felt like this is what she had to do, but like she's clearly like too far gone to like come up with like a logical frame of thought. But you like because I was a mage, like I was often fighting from a distance, so like I didn't hear that most playthroughs, and so like that's just like the funny thing is that like a weird thing. I think it's obviously meant to happen where like you're supposed to listen to what she says, but because you might be fighting her from a distance, you might have no clue what she's saying. It's a weird like little quirk of this fight that has always stuck out to me.
That is incredible.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but despite the fact that Cullen tries to relieve her of command, he doesn't help us fight, right?
No.
I think he does.
No, yeah, he does.
Cullen does? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't remember seeing him, so I was like, fuck you. But then again, I just hate him.
Yeah.
Cullen's the worst.
Yeah, I think he does help, and like it is interesting. I do like the end scene, like once you defeat her and she's beaten, like they do have this interesting moment of like the Templar starting to move in on you, and then like Cullen and them kind of taking a step back and you leaving. It's showing that the tension's still there. I think it's a great ending to a series of events that didn't live up to it. Basically, like I think the end,
unless you went the Templar route the whole way, then you become Viscount.
Oh my god!
For some reason.
Fucking bizarre. That's so weird.
Yeah.
I wonder if Viscount Hawk can carry over to the other playthroughs. No? Okay.
No, they pushed Viscount Hawk out.
Okay.
They were like, that was a decision we made. Maybe not our best decision.
Yeah. It's like, right, because I know you encounter Hawk in Inquisition, so like that wouldn't make any sense. Bizarre. And then after this, the camera pans up and we go back to Varric and Cassandra, who is now showing Cassandra have this realization of like Anders was at the focal point of this. Hawk was just kind of there and like starting to understand Varric and like fully believe his story. I completely forgot about this final moment though, where Cassandra leaves the building in Kirkwall and Liliana is outside and they consult. This is obviously meant to be the beginnings of the Inquisition. The symbol is on the book, but like just completely erased that from my brain when I played it the first time. And so that can like every time I think I'm out on one of these games, there are little connective moments that go, oh, that's fucking rad. But like, I just wish there was more of it and it still doesn't feel quite like it's enough.
That's my problem with that scene is like, you see whether these are just like earlier drafts of what they wanted to do or things just like change in development. Like to the point where Cassandra and Liliana are talking and they're like, Hawk is gone just like the Warden, and then Liliana's like, that can't be a coincidence. Spoilers, it is a coincidence actually, because they don't actually like nurture continuity in this series in the way that like, and I've talked to, BioWare said a lot of times, and I even had interviews with them where I've talked with them about this. So like a lot of that felt like pressure from the perceptions of what Mass Effect was to try and like make these connective tissue, but because they don't really follow through on it in a very meaningful way, a lot of those things just kind of feel like drop threads and like this lack of cohesion in the world that really gets under my skin, especially as they continue to like, okay, we have to have a new protagonist every time, and even if the plot at large should probably still center the character you were just playing as, because like Inquisition obviously is going to bring a lot of Corypheus stuff, and it's like, shouldn't Hawk be here for that? And it's like, oh, for more than just, oh no, but only one mission. You're only gonna see him for a little bit, and so it's like things like that get on my nerves. Where it's like, yeah, like going back and like being like, oh, they have the Inquisition book. Like, okay, that's very cool. They had some semblance of what they were gonna do next, but then like that connective tissue's not there. Like I assume that like when y'all did like Witch Hunt in Origins, Morgan's like, oh, I've left something for you here. It's very important. Never brought up again.
Nope.
And so it's things like that get under my skin.
Yeah, that's legit. I mean, like on the one hand, I love that every protagonist is different, so it's not Mass Effect. But I do wish the world stayed connected better than they did, for sure.
A little more consistency.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That's all we want.
I mean, it'll come to a head, I think, when we talk about Veilguard, because that feels more egregious than Inquisition does. Like, there's a long gap between Inquisition and Dragon Age 2, and they're very different stories. And
let's not talk about Varric's beard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're not going to talk about Varric's beard. Varric's beard can. We don't have time to talk about Varric's beard. But yeah. But I do like this final moment. I think ultimately, I felt a little disappointed by the ending of the game this time. I think because I've played them all now. When I first played Dragon Age, and I've played them all multiple times, it just I think it's because of how lopsided the ending feels. Like the ending moments and the decisions, that the ending itself. Like, I like the conclusion of the story. I like Cassandra as a character, and so coming around to her and all of that stuff. But it does still feel kind of, especially knowing where it's going, a little empty. I have found, though, that as we've played these games for the podcast, I've seen more connective tissue than I had seen in the past just playing on my own, and so I'm hoping to see more. But the game just kind of ends. Like, they have that conversation outside the building, and then credits.
I half expected there to be a billboard that said Dragon Age will return.
Oh yeah. Or like, Hawk will return in whatever, but yeah, like the Marvel movies do now. Yeah. It does give that kind of vibe. Yeah. Didn't they do that in Ken, you played it in the not the newest Life is Strange, but the one before it. Mm-hmm. They said the main character who came back from the original game, there's like she will return, they did the Marvel thing. Like, just
crazy.
Just insane to do that. And not like, if a Deadpool game did it, it'd be a good bit. But like anywhere else, it's like, what are you doing? Why? Yeah, bizarre. All right. So that is the last straw. We're going to get into a couple other things, but before that, we are going to defer to our correspondent in the field, Callie, who sent us after a long gap, a new fan mail audio message about 2 episodes ago, because recording stuff out of time. So we're going to cut to that and Callie's voice message now.
Anathara, everyone. Here are some thoughts on episode 48 and Mark of the Assassin. I would have liked to have a way to bypass this hunt. Surely nobody would have guessed, but I am very much not fond of killing animals for sport. I felt quite validated that Matt agrees with my frustration about the stealth section. I am also not much of a stealth person, but I could feel that this was very unrefined. I hate being lied to, and the situation with Talus nicely demonstrates one of the reasons. Although it is a more terrible act than most of us think about, often nothing is gained from it. Lies are a kind of actual mind control, forcing someone into a false reality and taking their ability to choose freely. It is heinous unless necessary to preserve well-being and liberty. And Talus did it for no reason other than not understanding the kind of person I am. If I had been told everything, I would have chosen to help save lives, and I would expect a master spy to know this about me, given my record in Kirkwall. This was a horrible violation, pointlessly inflicted. That hit close enough to some recent trauma that I kind of went numb, with a faint anger below the surface. And how could I trust any of her explanations after that? Especially when she was obviously trying to flatter and manipulate me. And yet, I still chose to take the risk to try to save lives, and because I am arguably too willing to give people another chance. The terminology around Qunari is confusing, but in Thedas, those outside the Qun typically use Qunari to refer to the species of tall-horned folk, while followers of the Qun use Qunari to refer to all followers of the Qun, regardless of species. The historical term for the species is Kosith, but it has largely been forgotten. I am a little concerned by Tallis saying that nobody should have this list, but then not destroying it on the spot. I certainly do not trust her with it either. A brief epilogue. I very much appreciate the permission to share a crowdfunding link, but we already succeeded. My friend is still recovering, but she will be okay. As always, many thanks to Frankie and Matt for taking the time and effort to make Reignite. And remember, all Templars are bastards, and they must be abolished and held accountable for what they have done. And maybe the Arlesian nobility should be next.
Thank you, as always, for that, Callie. We appreciate you writing in on the Discord, sending us voice notes. We love hearing from you, and we love hearing from all our listeners. So if you want to be featured in the podcast, especially as we head into a new video game, please send in your thoughts, especially as we're going to be jumping into the wrap-up of this season. Like, your thoughts on Dragon Age 2 as a whole. Hit us with, like, your highs, your lows, you know, all of that stuff, and let us know.
Callie, I'm talking to you directly now. Every audio track you send us going forward, you have to record it as if you are a correspondent in the field.
Don't put that pressure on them.
I feel like that makes it a fun exercise.
That's fair. That's fair.
Callie, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but I think it would be hilarious. And we know that I am the pinnacle of humor on this podcast.
No comment. Anyway.
Everybody thinks I'm funny.
Let's move into Fandom Corner before we wrap up. Frankie, what have you brought for Fandom Corner this time?
Okay. Before we started, we were talking about what Fandom Corner is and why it is. And I'm going to repeat what I said because I think our listeners should hear it in case they started listening after I made this a thing. So for me, Fandom Corner is bringing you something that gave me the same feeling as Mass Effect and Dragon Age, these games that I love to dissect, love to criticize because sometimes they need it, love to obsess over. So I think it's really important to remind you of this when I tell you that I'm bringing you the book Mossed in Space. Mossed spelled MOSS''D. It is a cozy science fiction from Rebecca Thorne about a young woman from a space colony who buys a spaceship in the hope of flying to a terraformed planet and convincing them to let her and her sister move there to try and improve her sister's asthmatic disease. But the ship that she buys is an ancient alien ship covered in moss. And when she boards it and flies it for the first time, she discovers that the moss is actually the life support system, and it is also an organic computer. And it has a mind of its own and abandonment issues. Like, if you love Mass Effect, you will love Mossed in Space. Imagine if it was the Protheans that built EDI instead of the elusive man, and a careless Prothean lost her for a century. And then it was Ryder who found her. Not Shepard, Ryder.
Right.
Just imagine all of those dynamics.
That does paint the picture. That's
what you get. There's some really cool aliens in it. There's a species called the Drakes, spelled D-R-A-I-C, which are gargoyle-esque creatures. Or characters, and they are often viewed as hostile because any Drake that you meet in this solar system is likely a mercenary. And it just Krogan vibes all the way
Yeah.
through. It was very cozy. It's about community, it's about second chances, it's about what people will do to save money and how it hurts our community in the long run. It is about trying to build a new home and the different ways that can be used against you, and privilege. Oh, there's just so many themes working in it together. And I just have a lot of strong feelings about it. Rebecca Thorne is a treasure and a gift. And I love everything about her and what she writes. And I highly recommend Lost in Space. It is filled with puns. And yeah, it's great. Fantastic. Excellent book. Thank you, Rebecca Thorne, for existing.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Mine will be quick. I played Bubsy 4D recently, and most people who've played video games cringe at the thought of Bubsy in any form. But I wanted to talk about Bubsy 4D, because it is a competent 3D platformer, which I love. What?
For those of us who maybe aren't as up to date on video games as they should be for a host of a video game podcast, could you maybe explain what Bubsy is?
Sure. So in the era of the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo mascot platformers, Sonic, Mario, and the like, Bubsy was created by, I think it's Acclaim, who originally, Accolade, a company who made third-party games. And he was another mascot platformer. But the games were, like, he talked a lot. The graphics were wonky. The gameplay was wonky. He was kind of slippery and hard to control. Not a beloved mascot platformer. Got 2 games in that generation, then got a bad 3D PlayStation game and some like indie games a couple years ago. But Atari got the rights to Bubsy, and with an indie developer named Fabraz that made Demon Tides and I don't remember the name of the first game, but their latest game is called Demon Tides, which is a momentum-based 3D platformer. They also were hired to and brought on to make a new Bubsy game. It's a couple hours long. It plays on the fact that Bubsy is an over-the-hill platformer mascot in the narrative. It's very goofy. And so the reason I brought it is, and the reason I played it, besides liking the studio and liking 3D platformers, is I grew up playing the Bubsy games, and I was too stupid and too little to know that they were bad games. So I just played them with Game Genie and really liked them because they were...
You played them with the purity of childhood and
Yes.
the wonder of love in your heart, and that is not a bad thing.
No, but because they are mostly maligned games, I loved these games that nobody else really did. Bubsy 3D on PlayStation is terrible. It looks terrible, it plays terrible. It's an awful game. Curiosity at best. But I was excited for this because it allowed me to relive a character that I loved from my childhood that is mostly maligned, and in this game is also maligned. Like, he has nephews and nieces who treat him like a has-been. Like, throughout the game, they sell you back your abilities that you at some point had that they stole from you, like a double jump and like running off edges and not falling, things like that. And it's just a very goofy, silly game. It's about 3 hours. If you like 3D platformers, specifically of the Mario 64 era, then you would probably enjoy this. Is it the best 3D platformer I've ever played? No, not even close. Is the story really engaging and is it really deep? No. But I had a fun time with it. It's connected to this personal history of mine. And so if you had seen this and gone, what the fuck is that thing? It might be worth trying out if you like both mascot platformers of your youth and are curious about what the fuck a Bubsy is.
Well, of Matt's youth.
Yes, that's true. I mean, it could be their youth too. Some people are as old as me. Not many.
Doubt.
All right. Ken, what have you brought for Fandom Corner?
So I'm going to admit, like, Bubsy threw me off for a bit. I was like, I thought I knew what we were bringing for, but then I saw Bubsy and was like, I don't know how that gives us the same feeling as like Mass Effect or Dragon Age. But then I was like, I guess it is like in space and stuff. That time. So
yeah.
But I am bringing. Is it cool if I do like an entire discography, like a band?
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Because I've
Matt says eagerly.
Yeah. I have over the past 7 months or so been listening to a lot of Idola, which is, for those who don't know, a metal band that is led by the same singer as Dance Gavin Dance, Andrew Wells, and the reason that like they come to mind here for me is that they are a conceptual band, and that like all their albums are kind of a larger story that gives me like the vibes of something like Dragon Age. Because like I tend to like associate Code and Camry's music with Mass Effect because it's both sci-fi and it's also like in this universe that is bringing a lot of imagery of like galactic warfare and things like that, where this is more of a fantasy-ish story with a lot of like internal struggles between this fractured individual. But I don't think you really need to know the concept to like still really enjoy their music. I think they're just like Andrew's an excellent vocalist. They kind of ebb and flow because like they're primarily like a metal band, but then their most recent album, Mend, is a bit more poppy, which, you know, I'm sure that somebody has no personality has a problem with that. But generally, like, you know, a lot of their music is very like prose heavy, very, you know, very full of like imagery and like the lyricism. And that just draws me to a lot of like fantasy stories. Like, so I get to have like the connection of like, even if I'm not necessarily envisioning the imagery of their story specifically, I tend to associate it with other things that kind of like give off this vibe. And so, yeah, their last album was last year's Mend, and I think they have been talking about having a new album out this year. So yeah, generally recommend Idola on your streaming service of choice.
Do you think that they are similar to Dance Gavin Dance? So if you aren't a fan of Dance Gavin Dance, or are they different enough that they're worth a shot, even if you didn't vibe with Dance Gavin Dance?
I think they're different enough because I think Dance Gavin Dance tends to be like, you know, more like funk and R&B influenced in terms of like its metal leanings, where Idola is more like just kind of like a straight, like almost like prog rock metal band. So
cool.
Vibes are very different. Same
All
thing
right.
are very different vibes.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Awesome. Because, I mean, you've become my go-to for obscure pop bands that I'd never heard of and then become my entire personality like Sleep Token has become. So, you know, always worth exploring.
And then they became the biggest band in the world, so it's crazy.
I mean, yeah, and apparently they're bad now because they make pop music and R&B music, which is, you know, how that goes apparently.
Get real problems.
Yeah, I know, right? Awesome. Well, thank you, Ken, for that. We're going to give you a chance to promo in a moment, but for our listeners, our next episode is the postmortem episode. We do this every season where we talk about our overall feelings on the game, on the season, how it went, what we learned, what we like, what we don't like, what maybe we learned to like or learned to dislike in this game, maybe. And so tune in for that. And then we will also have an announcement about when season 7, fuck, God, so old. When season 7 will begin, probably early to mid-September is the vision. But we'll get more into that in the next episode and set you on a path to create your Inquisitors and join us for that first episode. So with all of that said, Ken, thank you for joining us again. It's always a pleasure to have you on the pod.
I can yap about this all day.
I mean, we know you're one of the foremost BioWare experts and Frankie's nemesis, so you'll always be back.
Competing academics.
I'll be back for Inquisition. I'll be back for Veilguard.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I will say that I know that we didn't this season do any like companion focused episodes other than their like quests. But I obviously know that we cannot do next season without having you talk about Dorian at some point. And so you will definitely be back for that, at least in whatever shape that takes. I mean, it's hard not to. He feels like a universally beloved character to me in a way that others aren't, which is interesting. Because I feel like I wouldn't dare try and compare him to Garrus, but I get the same vibe that like players love that character. In that sense. So anyway, you'll definitely be back and we'll have you, but please let folks know where they can find you online. Shout out some of your work you've done recently, all the stuff they can go check out and all the places they should go.
Yeah, I'm writing every day at Kotaku. Normally is like a giant backlog of hundreds of episodes you can listen to now where I've gone through all the Dragon Age games except for we're in the middle of Veilguard. So if you want to hear me ahead of my appearance on here talking about Dorian, there's an episode for that too. And then also the other games we talked about: Mass Effect, Cyberpunk, Final Fantasy, Nier,
Last of Us,
Jade Empire.
Oh yeah, you guys did Jade Empire. That's right.
I really have to send you this paper I wrote.
So yeah, those are as far as the internet's concerned. That's me. If you live in the New York area, I work with the New York City Gay Men's Chorus, and we have shows kind of like quarterly. Worthy Cause, IMO. Yeah, I think that's me as far as the internet is concerned.
Yeah. I think Ken is also a great follow if you want to watch a gay man thirst for hot video game characters. It's like the source. Like I like Leon well enough from Resident Evil, but like after reading your articles, it's like, all right.
Much to consider.
Much to consider. Alrighty, let's get this wrap up on the road and hit the bricks, as they say. Throw the bricks. I don't know. I got nothing. Let's just go.
What?
Don't listen to me.
I try not to, but sometimes.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Sometimes
I
say
just be
things.
saying shit, so it's fine.
That's true. Anyway, if you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We're at Reignite Pod on Blue Sky, YouTube, and Instagram, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Blue Sky as Frankie B. Writes and DJ Stormageddon. I'm also a little more active on Threads as Frankie B. Writes, if that's a thing that you care about.
And I don't have a thread, so you can't find me there. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast if you're not already, if this is your first episode, and I can see why. Ken is here, so I would be here too. Please go and sub to the show. Otherwise, ratings and reviews are the best way that you can help podcasts for free. Go find Normandy FM, listen, subscribe, and rate and review there too. It helps more folks find these podcasts and grow this incredible BioWare community that, I mean, mostly does good things and hopefully will still be around for a while, ? Yeah, so please go do those things.
In case you didn't know, we're members of the Certain Point of View Network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website, where you can join the conversation.
Yes, Ken has appeared across the oeuvre of Certain POV. Ken was on one of our anniversary episodes for SideQuest talking about Persona 5 Royal, shocking absolutely nobody. And then, of course, there's the backlog here. If you've not listened to all of our seasons, get to it. And Ken makes many appearances throughout there. One of my first live panels ever is because of Ken Shepard. When we first met at, God, that was PAX 2020, right? PAX East 2020. God, that was so long ago. Which is a live panel about rating how hot all the Mass Effect characters are, which was a blast to do. So yeah. Go check all of that stuff out. As for personal plugs right now, the big thing is that I'm going to be at PAX West, which is the Labor Day weekend in September. I'm going to be on 2 different panels, so more details to come about that, but it should be exciting. And then I will be there, of course, with Jen and Sarah covering the event for Fun and Games. So definitely let me know if you're going to be there and come through and say hi. And I will have more info on those panels probably in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that.
I won't be there.
Yeah, we know, because you decided to move to another country. That's not our fault.
I live in Northern Ireland.
Yes, we know.
Hey, do you love romance? Do you love books? Do you love community-forward spaces that care more about providing a safe space to exist than it does about making a profit? Then you're going to love Romance Society Bookshop. Keep an eye on Romance Society Books on Instagram. There will be a Kickstarter. There may be a space. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yes, please check out Romance Society Books on Instagram. That's where we are trying to post all of our news. We have made some progress. Oh, you can also go to our website, romancesocietybookshop.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter, where one is going to go out in August.
Nice. Yes, if you like supporting local bookshops, maybe keep an eye on that space and this space.
Even if you're not local to Northern Ireland.
Correct. You can still give them your money, even if you don't live there. It's amazing.
Please give me your money.
We, of course, also want to thank Case Aiken for developing some awesome t-shirt designs that you can find at certainpov.com and for designing each individual episode's show art. Thank you so much, Case.
We'd like to thank Miracle of Sound for our theme music. If you've been enjoying it, then you should head over to miracleofsound.rocks and check out Gavin Dunn's other music and merch.
And thank you to Red Spinks, who designed our Dragon Age-inspired logo. To see more of his work, you can go to Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
And lastly, thank you for listening. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt.
And I'm Ken, and all Templars are bastards.
Especially Meredith.
Fight for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk. Hawk, 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 Hawk.
Do you find yourself playing older games and wishing that there were new discussions about those games? Enter Tales from the Backlog. Hi, I'm Dave Jackson, and on each episode, I'm joined by a guest to break down those games that may be stuck in your ever-expanding backlog. Each episode looks at one game in depth, focusing on mechanics, story, music, and other aspects with no spoilers until a clearly marked spoiler wall in the middle. If you've played the game, go ahead and climb that spoiler wall and enjoy in-depth story discussions, and if not, jump out when we warn you and maybe go play that game for yourself. We have over 100 episodes in the feed, everything from Disco Elysium to Tunic to discussion episodes about how to get into horror games, and if games actually need to be fun, or if they have more to offer. I guarantee that there's something in there for everybody. Once again, that's Tales from the Backlog, available wherever your podcasts are found.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.